Hey everybody, welcome to another wonderful dance with Soul Spa and Bev Wood. Hi Bev,
Hi, Paul.
and my name's
What's
Paul,
going
as you
on?
just heard. All right, it's time for our full moon celebration and all the deep information about it. So take it away, Bev. Let us know what it's about.
Okay, well, first let me say the Virgo Full Moon Festival is this Sunday, September 7th. It will be exact Pacific Daylight Time at 11:09 a.m. So what an opportunity for us to participate. Actually, just to remind you or tell you, there's usually basically 3 days around this festival. The day before is called the day of preparation, where you're beginning to start to hold those energies. The day of the full moon is called the day of safeguarding, where we act as a chalice for all of those inpouring energies. And then the third day is day after the full moon, the day of precipitation, where we take advantage of the influence in our own lives and in our groups to pour forth that which we have been holding. So, just to kind of give you, these are amazing festivals of the soul. So, to participate in them is really doing world service. It's wonderful. So, the sun is in Virgo, which means the moon is in Pisces, its polarity, but also at the same time, we are going to experience a total lunar eclipse. This is doesn't happen all the time. And as you know, there's a lot of things uh, in the systemic extraplanetary energies that are happening way beyond our understanding, but they are coming into an alignment. So let's just talk a little bit about the eclipse. So remember, the full moon is the exact opposition of the sun and the moon. In this case, again, it's Virgo and Pisces. So the sun, the divine consciousness, and the moon, the collective subconscious of humanity. And that is because as a group, we hold a lot of past things that need to be released. This is ancient patterns that are keeping us from moving forward. And so they need to be released. Well, in a lunar eclipse, the earth itself comes in between the sun and the moon. So esoterically, this is where the planetary Earth logos is where we live and move and have our being. So it's getting the full brunt of the divine consciousness, which is really quite amazing for the planet itself because it is preparing for a great initiation. So it is receiving the full divine consciousness, and of course, our little stuff is being eclipsed. We're kind of like out of the way. So the moon is exalted in Virgo. So this is really an opportunity for healing, a planetary healing, and not just within humanity. We need to take advantage of this. These times are being offered to us, and all of these great beings that we call planets and logoi and solar system, they are moving into alignment with each other. Let's take advantage of this. So, just to remind you, too, when I talk about consciousness, the whole cosmic order, the whole purpose is to develop consciousness, which isn't love, which I will talk about the next time I talk about the ageless wisdom. Every single being in this cosmic order, whether it's a cosmic entity, a planetary, or a solar entity, is evolving consciousness. Every single being. So just keep that in mind. So let's start talking about Virgo and Pisces. The constellation of Virgo, which is the mother, and Pisces, the sun, is a reorientation through purification, I will say. It is the blended dual light. Remember, there is a story that's being played out through astrology of light. Virgo is the blended dual light. It's the mother and the sun. So the constellation itself of Virgo is a cosmic group of great lives. It is the womb of space, and it gave birth to our solar deity, our universe. Virgo is the cosmic divine mother. So there is this great unfolding, a birthing that's happening now. We have to be conscious of what's going on around us on higher levels. But on a more human level, let's talk about Virgo. It becomes the medium of discrimination. This is where we learn to develop discernment. We begin to observe ourselves through a self-analysis. In fact, one of the key words of Virgo is I analyze. It is literally the will to manifest the Christ, to give birth. And the soul sounds at this time its keynote. I am the mother and the child. I, God, I matter, am. Think about that. Ponder on that great mantra. And as you participate, keep this one in mind. I am the mother and the child. I, God, I matter, am. So Virgo is an earth sign ruled by Mercury. It's just a really interesting alignment because Mercury, as we know, is in astrology, is a symbol of the soul. It's the link between spirit and form. And this is basically what we're talking about. So through this rulership of Mercury, we can access and eventually purify that mind and body. It is the mind-body connection. And in so doing, when we have purified the form enough, we can give birth to the divine Son in what is called the cave of the heart. It is the Christ in us, the hope of our glory. This is amazing times. Let's talk about its polarity Pisces, which is a water sign and is the light of the world. Pisces is the story of the prodigal son. It is a symbol of two fishes tied together. One swims down, it leaves the father's house and swims into form. And the other one is swimming back to its source, the Father Spirit. It is in Pisces that we reorient ourselves from form to spirit. And through that discriminating mind of Virgo, we can finally become the redeemers of the form world. This is the plan for us. Become the redeemers of the form world. And then the birth of the divine Son can take place on the earth because we, humanity, we are the prodigal son. We are the world's savior. This is what we are doing here, folks. So for 2 centuries, the age of Pisces has expressed itself through the idealistic love of the form and other things besides that, but mostly this idealism about the material plane. But in the new age that is now dawning, we will remember our brotherhood with all living beings in all the kingdoms on this planet. And we will truly become the stewards of the earth because we will recognize finally our divine sonship as a group soul. We are a group soul. So, at this full moon time, we can open our hearts to the love of the Divine Mother and help her give birth to her Son, that divine Christed essence principle that lives already within each of us. Can you imagine the power that we will wield as a loving group of souls when we allow that birth to take place? And so I wish you all of us, a blessed Full Moon Festival. Thank you.
Thank you. So, to take it a little out of the abstract,
Yes.
how a question many people might have. You talked about using discrimination and also purifying the mind. And
Right.
so, what's the so-called, how do I analyze without judging? And how do
Yeah.
I purify the mind? I mean, what's the, what are some key things that I can do to practice that without falling into discrimination of myself or
That,
those around me or judging? Discrimination and the difference between discrimination and judging kind of
of course, that's a great question. You always have great questions. So there literally is a process of evolving in this. The reason that Mercury, which is a neutral energy, by the way, rules this earth sign, very mutable, flexible earth sign, is expressly so that we can, through that conscious evolution that Mercury really instills in us, because to purify is we purify through the mind. When the mind is purified, the body will follow. That is the law. So what happens, and you're right, there's a duality to everything. The one downside of beginning to I analyze and I become discriminating and discerning is, if we're not careful, we become critical, overly analytical, and then we get in our own way. So, as in all things, there is a balance that we must come into. And that's why we are always given the very first teaching when we begin to become aware, self aware. We are told to start observing ourselves. And in that observation, we can hopefully catch ourselves because much of our work is what I was talking about, this opportunity of this full moon, of the lunar eclipse right now, to look at those old patterns that are subconscious. That's what the moon represents, these old, worn out patterns of thinking and feeling and being that are no longer serving us as a group soul. This is a great opportunity. And that's what happens in this Virgo Pisces. You know, the plan, the first thing is to give birth to that divine essence within each of us, to give birth to the sun, the principle of love. That's actually what's happening. In order to do that, we have to purify the form through the mind. That's the next goal. And so Virgo is critical in this process. And it also is the sign of healing, as I said. So through that comes the healing, healing of the old wounds, of the old way of being. It's time. It's time. It's just an amazing thing. So for us individually to start on that path, we have to become the observers of what we think, what we say, what we do, and then observe through that, not being overly critical, not knocking ourselves because we're not there yet. It's a process, but to begin is glorious. It is, one of my teachers told us, find joy in the tribulation, because that means things are changing and evolving. A lot of crap's going to come up for us in that process, as we know.
thing.
But it's part of the healing process. And that's really what we're doing in Virgo. We're
Wow.
healing these old wounds. Yeah.
Well, we're certainly seeing the gunk coming up in this day and age.
Oh,
So it's a
yes.
wonderful
As a
time to
collective,
wake up.
you bet. You
Yeah,
bet.
right. So I just wanted to put out, I just looked it up, that total eclipse of the moon will begin this Sunday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Thank
which will
you.
be
Yes.
9:30 Tucson time.
9:30 our time.
Yeah.
Right.
But you don't have to see that in order to have the effect, right? The effect is for
Oh my
everybody on the
gosh. No,
planet, whether you see it or
it's
not.
yeah, it's on those subtle levels that the whole it's a actually a planetary opportunity because let's face it, the Earth itself is in between the moon and the sun. So that little moon is kind of out of our way, out of, I should say, the planet's way, us out of the way. But if we tune into the consciousness of the planetary life, we are going to really benefit from that direct hit. Yeah.
All right. There we go. Another planetary journey with Bev Wood. Thank you. And we'll
Thank
see you
you.
all and feel you all on this full moon coming up on Sunday.
Many
Thanks, Bev.
blessings. Yeah.